is going to be great again. How long does he have before he owns it?
He gets 9 months to legislate. I believe that Chuck and I have talked about this a lot. You get 9 months to do things. And that was definitely a call to arms to the members of Congress there. We are not going to screw around. This is not kumbaya. But it was very bracing for people, even like me, who believe much of what he had to say about Washington being the center of elites and perhaps the Davos man not understanding the average American man. But, you know, you can sometimes put a little honey on there and make it more palatable.
And just to note, you're watching certainly the role reversal there in all its glory. There is President Trump now walks the other way with former President Obama, and they will soon be sending the Obamas off. So we're going to watch that play out here.
He just painted a picture that I think many Americans don't recognize. There are some Americans who think that's the picture, and some will say he's painting a warped picture or a different reality. And this goes to the whole thing, this idea that there have been two Americas. It was, and he only painted a picture of one of them.
Here's a very important distinction that he failed to make. He's not the president of the Electoral College. He's the president of the whole country. And the fact is he came up short by almost 3 million votes. And the wins that he had in the important Electoral College states were reasonably narrow. And a lot of those states, things are beginning to come around a little bit. And it wasn't just the economy. It was also the fact that they did want some change. But is this the change that they want?
Let me just quickly point out what you're looking at. There's the helicopter that's often known as Marine One when the president's on board that will take the former first family away. You can see the folks gathering for the official send-off as we watch that. Let me go to Kristen Welker. She's still on the platform there with some reaction to President Trump's speech.
Hi there, Lester. I'm here with Senator David Perdue of Georgia. He is the cousin of Governor Perdue of Georgia, former governor, who is, of course, just nominated to be the Agriculture Secretary. Thank you so much for joining me. Your initial reaction to that speech, some people thought that it felt a little bit like a campaign speech at the end. Did you feel like it was unifying enough?
Well, he's an outsider. You know, it's a little different approach today, but what he said was America belongs to the people. The government belongs to the people. Isn't that what we're all about? And what he really called on is Congress to get to work and get things done. So this is a guy that's used to getting results. So I walk away from him listening to one thing. He's calling for unity. Stand shoulder to shoulder, independent of your political persuasion, and let's pull together and make America great again.
You say unity, but to some of the Democrats, they may not have heard that?
Well, they may not have. But
and I'm getting a hard rap. Thank you so much, Senator. Lester, back to you.
Kristen, thank you. There is President Trump and former President Obama here for the departure of the Obamas. Typically, we have seen former presidents fly out of Washington to their next homes. In this case, they're off to vacation in Palm Springs, and it will be a round trip. They will return to Washington, D.C. to begin their life post-White House.
That's since Reagan and Jimmy Carter. Well, we have actually two presidents living in Washington, D.C. At the same time the Carters stayed to make sure Amy Carter got through the school year, sort of the similar reason why the Obamas are staying.
And there are the Bidens to wish their goodbyes as well. This is a symbolic moment. We've seen the official moment. This is certainly a symbolic moment of the continuation of the transfer of power. Let's listen a bit.
The Bidens get on the train. They have the best commute in Washington for a power couple. They get on Amtrak and ride it to the, second stop, I guess, Baltimore and then Wilmington. Joe has been doing that throughout his Senate career and also his vice presidential time.
Hugs and kisses all around, and we certainly know that the Obamas and the Bidens have become lifelong friends. There is a very, very close bond there, and we saw that with the Medal of Freedom with distinction that was awarded by the president, the former president to former vice president. I'll get this right. This is like when you get the new year, you keep writing the letter.
Still writing the same check.
Yeah. I'm going through that process now, so forgive me. But it appears that the Bidens will be departing first in a motorcade.
He's going to be setting up shop a couple places, University of Delaware and Penn. Essentially at Penn will be sort of where he'll pursue some interest in international affairs, and University of Delaware some domestic.
And a lot of Democrats will continue to look at him and wonder what if.
Or what could be. I don't think Joe Biden is done. You know, there was a time where people thought that if you're in your 70s, you're not going to be, it's going to be tough to run for president anymore. Donald Trump got elected at 70.
And the oldest to be...
But Joe's older than 70.
He is. He'd be 78 in 2020. Donald Trump would be 74. I have to say, I didn't think we would have 3 straight baby boomer presidents, or let alone, I guess, technically 4. Although I don't count Obama fully baby boomer.
As someone who's the same age as Joe, I'm going to tell you there's a difference between 70 and 78.
Tom, I think there's going to be a lot of run, Tom, runs for you there. So you never know there, buddy.
Also, the Democratic Party is going to have to raise a new generation. The fact is that what they've got to do is find the next generation of leadership in the Democratic Party, even with new ideas. And the same way Bill Clinton came up. And Joe Biden, in fact, was part of that reinvention of the Democratic Party. That's the case before the Democratic Party.
They have some energy. Kamala Harris, the senator from California, Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut. They have some very good, talented young people, but they don't have the talent of that couple. President and Mrs. Obama are uniquely gifted, and so there's always going to be a gap between what follows them.
And President Obama just kind of seems to be taking it all in as he prepares, he and the former First Lady prepare to depart the Capitol by helicopter. They'll be going the short distance to Andrews, Joint Base Andrews, to board a VIP Air Force jet. It will not be known as Air Force One, but an Air Force jet nonetheless, to take them to California for vacation.
And he's likely to make some remarks there to staffers, former staffers.
There has to be a lot of emotions, certainly a lot of nostalgia. It couldn't have been easy at times to hear some of the things said in that speech. But the former president has taken the high road, certainly in this transition.
Here's a lead paragraph in the Wall Street Journal today. After 8 years in office, Barack Obama has a market record any red-blooded American capitalist could be proud of. U.S. shares have soared, oil prices have come down, borrowing is cheap, profits are up along with the dollar. Even those who bet against President Obama made good money with returns in their investment. Now, that's the investment group. But along with that came jobs. We know that there has been a recovery. It's imperfect. It's got holes in it. But the fact is, it's not nearly as grim as the speech that we heard here today.
He was speaking to the Peggy Noonan Unprotected today.
And let's take in this moment as the former president saluting crew members. And the last time that we expect he will board that helicopter and make that wave. Chris Jansing is out there on that east front of the Capitol. What have you been able to observe there, Chris?
This is an emotional time, obviously, for the millions of people who love the Obamas, supported the Obamas. They now begin their post-presidential life. And it's described, this moment, in a handbook for the inauguration that dates back to 1889, which says, the president leaves the Capitol as fast as is practicable after the inauguration of his successor. What it doesn't describe is what this means to the country, this moment, this day that is all about Donald J. Trump. This moment is about 2 people who have served their country for 8 years, getting on that helicopter, as you say, for the last time, and going off on a new life at a very young age, 55 for the president, 53 for the First Lady. They will go to the former Air Force One, now called Executive One. I want to just point out that something happened here that was a tradition the Obamas started. It used to be that the goodbyes were said up on the steps, but as a sign of respect, 8 years ago, President Obama walked to the helicopter with the Bushes and not just said goodbye there, but as was noted at the time, he actually hugged George W. Bush. After what had been a long and difficult campaign, he had really made a statement that he appreciated the way that the transition was handled, just as Donald Trump has said that. So perhaps we have seen a new kind of farewell as we see the president and vice president wave, that they will escort them to the helicopter as they make their way to their new life, Lester.
I spoke to President Obama a little over a week ago, who said to me that he thinks the country's in a better place than when he took over. And certainly by many measures, he inherited a country with the brink of a financial disaster, shedding jobs. But he certainly has been open to critics of his foreign policy. And and some of the executive actions he's taken.
Ironically, toward the end here, the progress that the American military has made against ISIS, particularly in Iraq, has been very impressive. By the way, even at the end here, so what he got hit for early, you might see that strategy that President Trump keeps it in place because it seems to be working.
But I direct you to the speech, though. He said, we will eradicate radical Islamic extremism from the face of the earth. That's a pretty bold.
That was the most memorable declarative moment in the speech, is that, and it's a big reach too.
From the face of the earth.
Yes.
Especially when you're talking about an ideology. But nonetheless, he said it, and he's made some. When I did a tour this past week, talking to people around the country, both for and against Mr. Trump, President Trump, they want him to move quickly. They believe in his promises, and they want to see it. And people gave various times, but as to when they wanted to see it. And there's the picture, the Obamas leaving official Washington behind.
Wait for the memoirs.
We're actually watching it right over our window. It's coming.
They're coming right to us.
Coming right over our studio here.
We'll find out in the memoirs what they're saying to each other and what they're thinking as they.
And
they actually have a nice little shot. They take the president around so he gets to see.
No, what they're saying.
Them all.
Look, there's Lester Holt right now.
You think? No. There's got to be a mixture of relief and I suppose some regret. He talks about some of the regrets in office. He wishes that he had done more to organize the grassroots. When talking about the Democratic loss, the loss of Hillary Clinton, he told me he was surprised that his popularity on the campaign trail did not translate to her. So there's some regret about that. And as you said, for every president, there's always going to be something that you didn't get to or something you wished you had spent more time on. But he takes the longer view about his legacy and feels that history will judge him kindly.
There will be a hangar speech. And you'll recall 16 years ago, Bill Clinton took a long time at the hangar.
My God.
It went on for a long I wonder if he'll respond to President Trump in the hangar.
Boy, I don't know.
We could not get off the air on that day. That's what I remember.
Well, listen, the president spoke, and he wasn't necessarily speaking to all of us in the room. He was speaking to the people. And let's get out there. Jacob Soboroff is out on the Washington Mall with some reaction from the folks who came from some cases a long way to hear and see this moment. Jacob?
Hey, how are you, Lester? So I'm here with Pam and Jackie. They're from Pittsburgh. They are two of the, I guess, hundreds of thousands of people who are now leaving the National Mall. They are Donald Trump supporters through and through. We just stood here and watched former President Obama take off, and they came here specifically to hear President Donald Trump make those remarks. I got to ask you, Pam, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. I think he's just going to be an amazing president, and I hope the future looks a lot brighter for the country.
And Jackie, you came here from Pittsburgh, a very important place for Donald Trump to winning this presidency. What did you think? What was your most memorable part of the speech for you? Did you feel like it was a unifying speech?
Oh, yeah. And then he did use the word God, too, which is not something that usually is done by the presidents.
Were you surprised to hear that from Donald Trump?
I was, but,
All right, well, Pam, Jackie, thank you both very much. And Lester, just two, like I said, of the many Donald Trump supporters out here heading towards that parade, which starts around 3 o'clock.
All right, Jacob Soboroff, as we continue to watch former President and former First Lady Obama make their way out of official Washington aboard that helicopter carrying them to Joint Base Andrews, where we do expect to hear from Mr. Obama before the family departs on a vacation. In a much warmer climate.
Lester, something struck me there by the person that Jacob was interviewing when she said, she hadn't heard God before up there, hadn't heard that in a while. And of course, I don't think I've ever heard a president speak and not say, "May God bless America," after every single speech. But the point is, it sort of gets at, there were two versions of the Obama presidency that the public saw. There's a version that one half of the public saw, and there's a version that the other one thinks they saw or perceived. And boy, it is that perceived divide here, almost an informational divide. I mean, there's